Thinking, Fast and Slow, Introduction. Thinking, Fast and Slow is a book by Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist and economist. The book was published in 2011 and became a New York Times bestseller. The book explores the two systems that drive human thinking, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, intuitive, and emotional. It is responsible for our quick judgments and gut feelings. System 2 is slow, deliberate, and rational. It is responsible for our more complex and analytical thinking. Kahneman argues that we rely too much on System 1, which can lead to errors in judgment. He provides examples of these errors, such as the availability heuristic, the representativeness heuristic, and anchoring bias. Kahneman also discusses the importance of self-awareness and critical thinking in making good decisions. He argues that we need to be aware of our own biases and limitations in order to make rational choices. Thinking, Fast and Slow is a comprehensive and thought-provoking book that provides a deep understanding of how we think and make decisions. It is a must-read for anyone who wants to improve their decision-making skills. About the author. Daniel Kahneman is a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist and economist. He is a professor of psychology at Princeton University and a fellow of the Royal Society. Kahneman's research has focused on the psychology of judgment and decision-making. He has made significant contributions to our understanding of how we make decisions under uncertainty, how we frame problems, and how we deal with risk. Kahneman's work has had a major impact on the fields of psychology, economics, and business. He is a highly respected scholar, and his work is widely read and cited. Kahneman's awards and honors. Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, 2002. Presidential Medal of Freedom, 2013. National Medal of Science, 2013. Tversky Award, 1985. Distinguished Scientific Award for Early Career Contribution to Psychology, 1982. Guggenheim Fellowship, 1978. Kahneman's books. Thinking, Fast and Slow, 2011. Judgment Under Uncertainty, Heuristics and Biases, 1982. Choices, Values, and Frames, 2000. Maps of Bounded Rationality, A Perspective on Intuitive Judgment and Choice, 1999. System 1 and System 2, Two Systems of Thought, 2003. Part 1. Systems 1 and 2. In his book Thinking, Fast and Slow, Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman offers a revolutionary framework for understanding how our minds work and we make decisions. Kahneman argues that there are two main systems for thinking in the brain, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is the fast, intuitive, and automatic system of thinking. It is responsible for our initial reactions to things, and it operates without our conscious awareness. System 1 is quick and efficient, but it is also prone to biases and errors. System 2 is the slow, deliberate, and controlled system of thinking. It is responsible for our more complex and rational thoughts, and it requires our conscious attention. System 2 is slower and more effortful than System 1, but it is also more accurate and reliable. The two systems work together to help us make decisions. System 1 often makes quick and intuitive decisions, which are then checked and verified by System 2. However, System 2 can also override System 1 if it believes that a mistake has been made. There are several key differences between System 1 and System 2. Speed. System 1 is fast and automatic, while System 2 is slow and deliberate. Effort. System 1 requires little effort, while System 2 requires a lot of effort. Consciousness. System 1 operates without our conscious awareness, while System 2 requires our conscious attention. Accuracy. System 1 is prone to biases and errors, while System 2 is more accurate and reliable. System 1 and System 2 are both important for making decisions. System 1 is useful for making quick decisions in situations where time is limited. System 2 is useful for making complex decisions that require careful thought. Here are some examples of how System 1 and System 2 work in everyday life. When you are driving a car, you are using System 1 to make quick decisions about how to navigate the road. You are not consciously thinking about every decision you make, but you are relying on your intuition and experience to make safe choices. When you are taking a test, you are using System 2 to carefully consider the questions and come up with the best answers. You are consciously thinking about each question and using your knowledge and reasoning skills to come up with the correct answer. By understanding how System 1 and System 2 work, we can make better decisions in all areas of our lives. We can learn to identify situations where we are relying too much on System 1 and make an effort to use System 2 more often. We can also learn to avoid common biases and errors that can lead to bad decisions. Part 2: Biases. In the second part of his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman discusses the topic of cognitive biases, which are systematic errors in thinking that lead to poor decision-making. Cognitive biases. Kahneman identifies several common cognitive biases, including confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out and interpret information in a way that confirms our existing beliefs. Availability heuristic, the tendency to overestimate the probability of an event based on how easily examples of that event come to mind. Representativeness heuristic, the tendency to judge something based on how similar it is to a prototype that exists in our minds. Anchoring bias, the tendency to rely heavily on the first information we receive when making a decision. How biases lead to bad decisions. Cognitive biases can lead to poor decision-making in several ways. Ignoring disconfirming information. We may ignore information that does not fit with our existing beliefs. Seeking out information that confirms our beliefs. We may seek out information that supports our existing beliefs and ignore information that contradicts them. Downplaying risks. We may underestimate the risks of a negative event happening. Overcoming biases. Cognitive biases can be overcome by being aware of biases. The first step to overcoming bias is to be aware of it. Seeking out diverse information. We should strive to get information from a variety of sources, including those that challenge our existing beliefs. Using critical thinking. We should use critical thinking to evaluate the information we receive and make rational decisions. Similarities and differences between System 1 and System 2. Both System 1 and System 2 can play a role in cognitive biases. System 1. System may first be more susceptible to biases than System 2, due to its reliance on heuristics and stereotypes. System 2. System 2 can help us avoid biases by thinking critically about the information we receive. Overcoming biases. We can overcome biases by being aware of biases. The first step to overcoming bias is to be aware of it. Seeking out diverse information. We should strive to get information from a variety of sources, including those that challenge our existing beliefs. Using critical thinking. We should use critical thinking to evaluate the information we receive and make rational decisions. Thinking, Fast and Slow, Part 3: Intuition. In the third part of his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman explores the nature of intuition, which he defines as judgment without conscious thought. Kahneman argues that intuition can be a powerful tool for decision-making, but it is important to be aware of its limitations. The power of intuition. Kahneman cites several examples of the power of intuition, including the ability to make quick and accurate judgments in complex situations. For example, firefighters and police officers often rely on intuition to make split-second decisions in dangerous situations. The ability to recognize patterns and make connections between seemingly unrelated things. For example, scientists often rely on intuition to form hypotheses and develop new theories. the ability to understand the intentions and emotions of others. For example, we often rely on intuition to make judgments about the trustworthiness of others. The limitations of intuition. Kahneman also identifies several limitations of intuition, including: intuition is often based on incomplete information. We may not have all the facts we need to make an accurate judgment, but our intuition may lead us to believe that we do. Intuition can be biased. Our past experiences and prejudices can influence our intuition, leading us to make inaccurate judgments. Intuition can be difficult to control. We may not be able to explain why we have a particular intuition, and it may be difficult to change our minds even when presented with new information. How to use intuition effectively. Kahneman argues that intuition can be a valuable tool for decision-making, but it is important to be aware of its limitations. We can use intuition effectively by being aware of the potential for bias. We should be aware of our own biases and how they might influence our intuition. Seeking out feedback from others. We should get feedback from others to help us identify and correct any biases in our intuition. Using intuition as a starting point for further analysis. We should use our intuition to generate hypotheses and then use System 2 to test those hypotheses. The role of experts. Kahneman argues that experts are able to develop accurate intuition through extensive experience and training. Experts are able to recognize patterns and make connections that would be invisible to lay people. However, even experts are not immune to the limitations of intuition. Conclusion. Kahneman concludes that intuition is a powerful tool for decision-making, but it is important to be aware of its limitations. We can use intuition effectively by being aware of the potential for bias, seeking out feedback from others, and using intuition as a starting point for further analysis. Key points. Intuition is a powerful tool for decision-making, but it is important to be aware of its limitations. Intuition is often based on incomplete information and can be biased. We can use intuition effectively by being aware of the potential for bias, seeking out feedback from others, and using intuition as a starting point for further analysis. Experts are able to develop accurate intuition through extensive experience and training. Subpoints. The power of intuition. The ability to make quick and accurate judgments in complex situations. The ability to recognize patterns and make connections between seemingly unrelated things. The ability to understand the intentions and emotions of others. The limitations of intuition. Intuition is often based on incomplete information. Intuition can be biased. Intuition can be difficult to control. How to use intuition effectively. Being aware of the potential for bias. Seeking out feedback from others. Using intuition as a starting point for further analysis. The role of experts. Experts are able to develop accurate intuition through extensive experience and training. Even experts are not immune to the limitations of intuition. Thinking, Fast and Slow, Part 4. Self-awareness. In the fourth and final part of his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman explores the nature of self-awareness, which he defines as the ability to monitor one's own thoughts and feelings. Kahneman argues that self-awareness is a crucial component of good decision-making, but it is a limited resource that can be easily depleted. The importance of self-awareness. Kahneman cites several examples of the importance of self-awareness, including the ability to regulate emotions. Self-awareness allows us to identify and regulate our emotions, which can help us avoid making impulsive decisions. The ability to set goals and priorities. Self-awareness allows us to understand our own strengths and weaknesses, which can help us set realistic goals and priorities. The ability to understand and empathize with others. Self-awareness allows us to understand our own motivations and biases, which can help us understand and empathize with the motivations and biases of others. The limits of self-awareness. Kahneman also identifies several limitations of self-awareness, including Self-awareness is a limited resource. We have a limited amount of attentional resources that we can devote to self-awareness. When we are depleted, we are less likely to be aware of our own thoughts and feelings. Self-awareness can be biased. Our self-perceptions are often distorted by our own biases and motivations. We may be unaware of our own shortcomings or overestimate our own abilities. Self-awareness can be difficult to change. Our self-perceptions are often deeply ingrained and can be difficult to change, even when we are aware of them. How to improve self-awareness? Kahneman argues that self-awareness is a skill that can be improved with practice. We can improve our self-awareness by paying attention to our thoughts and feelings. We can learn to be more aware of our own thoughts and feelings by paying attention to them in the moment. Seeking feedback from others. We can ask for feedback from others to help us identify our blind spots and biases. Practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation can help us to be more aware of our thoughts and feelings without judgment. The role of self-awareness in decision-making. Kahneman argues that self-awareness is essential for good decision-making. When we are aware of our own biases and limitations, we are better able to make rational decisions. Self-awareness also allows us to understand the perspectives of others, which can help us make better decisions in social situations. Conclusion. Kahneman concludes that self-awareness is a crucial component of good decision-making. Although self-awareness is a limited resource that can be easily depleted, it is a skill that can be improved with practice. By paying attention to our thoughts and feelings, seeking feedback from others, and practicing mindfulness, we can improve our self-awareness and make better decisions. Key points. Self-awareness is a crucial component of good decision-making. Self-awareness is a limited resource that can be easily depleted. Self-awareness can be improved with practice. Self-awareness is essential for good decision-making. Subpoints. The importance of self-awareness. The ability to regulate emotions. The ability to set goals and priorities. The ability to understand and empathize with others. The limits of self-awareness. Self-awareness is a limited resource. Self-awareness can be biased. Self-awareness can be difficult to change. How to improve self-awareness. Paying attention to our thoughts and feelings. Seeking feedback from others. Practicing mindfulness. The role of self-awareness in decision-making. Self-awareness allows us to understand our own biases and limitations. Self-awareness allows us to understand the perspectives of others. Thinking, Fast and Slow, Part 5. Critical Thinking. In the fifth and final part of his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman explores the nature of critical thinking, which he defines as the ability to think clearly and rationally about an issue. Kahneman argues that critical thinking is essential for good decision-making, but it is a skill that can be difficult to master. The importance of critical thinking. Kahneman cites several examples of the importance of critical thinking, including the ability to identify and avoid biases. Critical thinking allows us to identify and avoid our own biases, as well as the biases of others. The ability to evaluate information. Critical thinking allows us to evaluate information carefully and identify flaws in reasoning. The ability to solve problems. Critical thinking allows us to solve problems creatively and effectively. The challenges of critical thinking. Kahneman also identifies several challenges of critical thinking, including critical thinking is effortful. It takes time and effort to think critically about an issue. Critical thinking can be uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable to challenge our own beliefs and assumptions. Critical thinking can be difficult to teach. It is difficult to teach people how to think critically. And it is even more difficult to teach them how to think critically about their own thinking. How to improve critical thinking skills. Kahneman argues that critical thinking is a skill that can be improved with practice. We can improve our critical thinking skills by being aware of our own biases. We should be aware of our own biases and how they might influence our thinking. Seeking out diverse information. We should get information from a variety of sources, including those that challenge our existing beliefs. Practicing critical thinking. We should practice critical thinking by challenging our own beliefs and assumptions, and by evaluating information carefully. The role of critical thinking in decision-making. Kahneman argues that critical thinking is essential for good decision-making. When we think critically about an issue, we are better able to identify and avoid biases, evaluate information, and solve problems. Critical thinking also allows us to understand the perspectives of others, which can help us make better decisions in social situations. Conclusion. Kahneman concludes that critical thinking is a crucial component of good decision-making. Although critical thinking is a skill that can be difficult to master, it is a skill that can be improved with practice. By being aware of our own biases, seeking out diverse information, and practicing critical thinking, we can improve our critical thinking skills and make better decisions. Key points. Critical thinking is essential for good decision-making. Critical thinking is a skill that can be difficult to master. Critical thinking can be improved with practice. Critical thinking is essential for good decision-making. Subpoints. The importance of critical thinking. The ability to identify and avoid biases. The ability to evaluate information. The ability to solve problems. The challenges of critical thinking. Critical thinking is effortful. Critical thinking can be uncomfortable. Critical thinking can be difficult to teach. How to improve critical thinking skills. Being aware of our own biases. Seeking out diverse information. Practicing critical thinking. The role of critical thinking in decision-making. Critical thinking allows us to identify and avoid biases. Critical thinking allows us to evaluate information. Critical thinking allows us to solve problems. Critical thinking allows us to understand the perspectives of others. Thinking, fast and slow, additional subpoints. Influences. Social and cultural influences. Social norms, expectations, and cultural values can all influence the way we make decisions. For example, in some cultures, it is considered rude to decline a request, even if it is inconvenient or costly to do so. Groupthink, the tendency to make poor decisions when we are part of a group that is highly cohesive and has a strong desire to reach consensus. Groupthink can lead to overconfidence, ignoring dissenting opinions, and failing to consider alternative options. Framing, the way that information is presented to us can influence the way we make decisions. For example, we are more likely to choose a risky option if it is presented as a gain rather than a loss. Emotions. The role of emotions in decision-making. Emotions can play a significant role in our decision-making, often leading us to make choices that are not in our best interests. For example, we may be more likely to make impulsive purchases when we are feeling happy or excited. The affect heuristic, a mental shortcut that relies on our emotions to make quick decisions. For example, we may decide that a product is good because it makes us feel happy, even if there is no evidence to support that claim. Emotional biases. Emotional biases can lead us to make poor decisions. For example, we may be more likely to choose options that are associated with positive emotions, even if they are not the best option. Willpower. The role of willpower in controlling behavior and making decisions. Willpower is a limited resource that can be depleted by exertion. When our willpower is depleted, we are more likely to make impulsive decisions and give in to temptation. Ego depletion. The idea that our willpower is a limited resource that can be depleted by exertion. When our willpower is depleted, we are more likely to make poor decisions and engage in self-destructive behaviors. Strategies for increasing willpower. There are a number of strategies that can be used to increase willpower. such as setting goals, making plans, and avoiding temptation. Intelligence. The relationship between intelligence and decision-making. Intelligence is generally associated with better decision-making. However, intelligence is not the only factor that determines how well we make decisions. Cognitive biases. Even intelligent people can make poor decisions due to cognitive biases. For example, we may be more likely to overestimate our own abilities and underestimate the risks of a situation. The role of education and training. Education and training can help us to improve our decision-making skills by teaching us how to identify and avoid cognitive biases. Happiness. How decision-making can affect happiness. The way we make decisions can have a significant impact on our happiness. For example, we are more likely to be happy if we make decisions that are consistent with our values and goals. The importance of regret avoidance. Regret is a powerful emotion that can undermine our happiness. We can reduce regret by making careful decisions and by learning from our mistakes. Strategies for increasing happiness. There are a number of strategies that can be used to increase happiness, such as making positive relationships, practicing gratitude, and engaging in meaningful activities. These are just a few of the many factors that can influence our decision-making. By understanding these factors, we can improve our decision-making skills and make better choices in all areas of our lives. Conclusion. Thinking, Fast and Slow is a landmark book that has had a profound impact on our understanding of how we think and make decisions. Kahneman's insights have helped us to identify the biases and limitations that can lead to poor decision-making. He has also provided us with tools and strategies that we can use to improve our decision-making skills. The book is divided into 5 parts. Part 1. The Two Systems introduces the two systems that drive human thinking, System 1 and System 2. Part 2. Heuristics and Biases explores the cognitive biases that can lead to errors in judgment. Part 3. Intuition discusses the role of intuition in decision-making. Part 4. Self-awareness explores the importance of self-awareness in making good decisions. Part 5. Rationality discusses the challenges of making rational decisions. Thinking, Fast and Slow is a must-read for anyone who wants to improve their decision-making skills. It is a comprehensive and thought-provoking book that provides a deep understanding of how we think and make decisions. The book has been praised by critics and readers alike. It has been called a masterpiece, a must-read, and a groundbreaking work. The New York Times called it a brilliant and provocative book that will change the way you think about thinking. The Wall Street Journal called it a landmark book that will be read and debated for years to come. The Economist called it a must-read for anyone who wants to understand how we make decisions. Thinking, Fast and Slow has won numerous awards, including the Samuel Johnson Prize for Nonfiction and the Los Angeles Times Book Prize for Biography. The book has been translated into over 40 languages and has sold over 5 million copies worldwide. It is a truly groundbreaking work that has had a profound impact on our understanding of how we think and make decisions. Thank you for listening. I hope you have acquired some new vocabulary and developed your listening skill a little. Don't forget, repetition is the key to learning. See you later.